14. An uninterrupted wedding. Jubilation resonated throughout the Aqua Phi upon their emergence into familiar seas. Qualdor and Sonny were overcome with excitement when the minister entered the control center and said, "I'd like to perform a wedding." They wanted to get married immediately. Nevertheless, amidst talk of finding a new place to settle in and rebuild, they decided it would be best to wait until their people found a new home. The choice was widely accepted by all. Qualdor and Sonny's wedding was looked upon by everyone as something more than a wedding. It marked their triumphant return to the place they all knew and loved. Time drifted slowly as these exiles tried to find a new homeland. Every suggestion offered was tested. Nothing was satisfactory. Nothing felt like the home they lost. At an engineering meeting, Troy voiced the idea of expanding the Aqua Phi to 3 times its current size. The idea was so intriguing, the group of 5 was brought in to hear it. Troy explained how the Aqua Phi was built with titanium metal. If superheated to 200 degrees, titanium expands. Therefore, according to his vision, the Aqua Phi could expand to 3 times its current size through heat infusion. Although the Aqua Phi would become larger, he assured its incredible mobility and maneuverability would not be lost. He and the engineering unit would augment the vehicle's power levels to enhance the capability of the engines to meet the new size of the vessel. The group of 5 was so impressed with Troy's proposal, they gave it their complete support. Troy, along with Phasar, the engineers, designers, builders, and mechanics, immediately set to work. First, they expanded a holographic representation of the Aqua Phi. When the holograph operated exactly as the Aqua Phi would in every conceivable situation, they set to work on the real machine. The operation continued one sector at a time while workers expanded the exterior and interior of the vessel simultaneously. Once the interior of the vessel resembled as closely as possible the precious living environment of the globe, everyone felt the welcoming feeling of being home again. The exterior of the vessel kept its original sleek curvature, only this time it was 3 times as large. All of its inhabitants celebrated the newly designed Aqua Phi. They regarded it as both a vehicle and a home, suited for an inaugural wedding. The reception hall on board the ship mimicked the original in every detail. The wedding planners followed their memory of Sonny and Qualdor's reception hall so precisely that once the entry was open, everyone froze in amazement. As if in a dream, they found themselves reliving all the magnificent details and emotions of that memorable wedding day. These grand festivities that began in a faraway place and time were now ready to meet a happy ending. The events that separated their beginning and end were so insignificant by comparison. Sonny and Qualdor's parents took their place in the middle of the grand ballroom. They all held hands in order to steady themselves from the sensation of the floor moving beneath their feet. Their parents were lovingly engrossed in the music that softly played from the orchestra. The conductor saw the parents and was moved to take a low, deep bow in honor of their triumphant return to their children's most majestic night. The lighting fixtures, tables, settings, audience, seating, and even the golden stage were all organized in a way that pleased their parents, far beyond what they had hoped for the second time around. Qualdor did not need prodding from his father in order to be on time for his own fete. This time he and Sonny had everything ready. They returned, as everyone remembered, in full Indian regalia. Pride was in the air as they anticipated Sonny and Qualdor's arrival. Faltor summarized the moment best when he looked over at Una and said, "We suffered, but we are the victors." Una smiled and added, "We were interrupted, but survived to celebrate this day together." The conductor raised his left hand and the music stopped. Sonny's father understood that this was his cue. He walked briskly to his daughter at the back of the hall. The other parents stood at their designated places. Sonny's father took one last admiring look at his only child, and they embraced. He stood beside her and held out his strong arm as she gently grabbed it before walking to her destiny. One wave of the music conductor's magical wand electrified the room with excitement and brought everyone to their feet as Sonny and her father proudly walked down the aisle. Their brisk steps caused her Indian attire to flow back in concert with her thick, wavy locks. Jerub approached the stage and gave Qualdor a warm but sturdy handshake. He placed his daughter's hand into Qualdor's waiting palm. Qualdor held her fingers, brought them to his lips, and looked into her eyes, before bringing his bride close to him on the stage. The couple stood before the minister, who waited for the exuberant clapping of the crowd to stop before he started to speak. His sermon was spirited, triumphant, and nostalgic, but most of all, filled with love for the couple. When he finished, Sonny repeated her vows to her groom. Qualdor followed with his own promises for his bride. After Qualdor completed his vows, not a sound could be heard in the room as they looked at each other with love in their eyes. Suddenly, the entire auditorium erupted in a new round of applause. Once the roar quieted some, the minister shouted with joy, "I now pronounce you husband and wife." Not one seat was left occupied when Sonny and Qualdor's lips touched on the golden stage. Everyone rose to their feet in a thunderous ovation. This day would be marked in the chronicles of history as the new beginning they all longed for. The wedding planner and her crew worked with great skill to transform the auditorium into an extravaganza filled with the best dining, dancing, and music. Servers delivered delicious, aromatic meals to each guest. Drinks flowed with the music, and their senses were lifted as high as their hearts would take them. Sonny and Qualdor led the way to the dance floor, followed by their parents and other people dear to them. Troy and Phasar enjoyed the moment and danced with a few beautiful ladies. The festivities lasted long into the morning hours. Not one heart was sad on that glorious day. Not one, except the one belonging to Arad. He was truly happy for his friends on their special day, but couldn't help feeling lonely. He didn't have any family with whom to share such a moment. The loving interaction displayed between Sonny, Qualdor, and their parents seemed foreign to Arad. Who am I? He wondered. Who are my parents? He asked himself, wanting an answer. Arad looked at everyone around him. Each person in the community treated him with dignity and respect. The older members raised him as if he were their own grandchild. However, who were his parents? He longed to know his parents. Many young, pretty girls walked over to the handsome Arad to cheer him up. They pulled on his arms to drag him to the dance floor, but he was not in the mood to dance. Arad would not surrender to any of their pretty faces, no matter how they tried to get his attention. No one noticed when he disappeared from the party. He could no longer handle seeing parents and children lovingly interact with each other, dancing, talking, and sharing secrets. He slowly walked down the hallway toward his suite. In an act of self-consoling, he let his fingers glide against the cushioned wall. The softness of the velvet-like material warmed his heart, the way a comforting embrace might have, if he had a mother to hold him. The door slid open to his room. Arad entered slowly, eyes shut, and sighing heavily because of the burdensome thoughts on his mind. Arad entered slowly, eyes shut, and sighing heavily because of the burdensome thoughts on his mind. But before the door could completely close, Arad motioned it to stay slightly open. He still wanted to hear the sound of music and merriment. while he meditated on his existence. After a few minutes of sitting on his bed in deep sadness, he laid down, hoping to figure out who he was. Why was he without parents? Even after the music stopped, the lights went out, and the last of the cleaning crew wrapped up and went to sleep, Arad remained awake. The community had raised a fine young man. He had exceptional teamwork skills. He was also instrumental in their return home. But the unanswered questions about his ancestry haunted this young man long into the morning hours. The lighting in his room began to dim, but the sensors determined that he was not asleep, so they did not turn off completely. Like a silent friend, the shadows created by the soft lighting wrapped around Arad's lonely curves to console him.